So welcome everybody to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. And get the switchboard going there. And today is Monday, August 19th, 2024. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. And we would love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. And we'll give Michael just a moment to dial in. And I know he was going to complete a worksheet with Celinda today, and we have a couple of hands up as well. So we'll see which direction he wants to go once he gets on. We also had, I got an email from a lady, and she said, let's see. Okay. I greatly appreciate, she's talking about Michael and Celinda on the show the other day. I greatly appreciate his compassionate offerings while navigating Celinda through her worksheet on a recent show. I think it was on the 16th. Anyway, it was a beautiful example, at least the way I heard it, of how crafty the mind can be at misdirection as we work on these things. I personally found it comforting, as when I am doing a worksheet, excuse me, I definitely find my mind wants to go everywhere but on the line that I am on. And I end up practicing a lot of gentle redirection, it's a good way of putting it, which sometimes makes for a decent amount of time spent on just one worksheet. I also have experienced the spider web that seems to form as I look at each line, and I have more than one thought, more than one feeling. Sometimes I will admit this is quite overwhelming, and I think to myself, how am I ever going to do all these worksheets? And sometimes I just have to put away what I have and go to work or class or whatever it is. But I do feel that the process is helping me, and I am making progress, even if only in teeny tiny increments. Anyway, thank you both for what you do, as always. I love listening so much. And then she asked if she wonders if there's anybody in the southeastern Massachusetts area that would want to do worksheets with her, that she feels like sometimes it's very lonely because other people think that this is woo-woo or crazy or whatever, and she'd love to have somebody doing the work with her. Of course, you've always got us, Colleen, 5 days a week. And then she says, I want to thank Celinda most of all for being so generous to the rest of us with her vulnerability.
Sweet. I'm with you. Thank you, Celinda. And also every Wednesday, Colleen, at, if I remember correctly, 11 o'clock, Susan, whose voice you get blessed with often on the show, does a support group via Zoom, so you can always join that too. And on, I believe, Tuesdays and Thursdays, Dr. Tim has a support group.
Correct.
I'm not sure whether Dr. Andraki is still doing one out in California, Arizona. Do you know if he's still doing it, sweetie?
I think he is when he's in town, but that man has traveled from Japan to Korea to wherever, so I'm not sure who's doing it in his absence, whether they're keeping on, but I'll drop him a line and ask him.
Yeah, and do we have the information for that on the website, if he is doing it?
Yes. Yes, good. Anybody, cool. If you're wanting, let me look real quick so I make sure I tell you the right place. So if you go under healing and then go down to support, then you'll see there is a link that says Mindshifters support groups. And if you click on that, it's got the information. Well, Urate, I don't believe, is doing hers right at the present. Hers is the first one that popped up. And then Dr. Andraki, which is in Pahrump, and then Susan's information, which is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So, and anybody that is running, right, they are. So if anybody
so it doesn't matter where in the world you are.
If anybody else is running a support group, if you would send me the information, like the day, the time, the place, if it's on Zoom, the link, and if I've already got yours on the website there, please double check me and make sure that my information is correct, because sometimes they change.
Right. And Colleen, a couple of things on what you said. One of the questions to ask yourself when you say, gee, I do this and I get overwhelmed by the worksheet. Remember our definition of denial. When I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of something moving inside of me, I'm in denial, and I have to dissociate from the truth within myself, which means I create an unconscious mind, an unnatural condition for a human being. So the question to ask yourself would be, when something like that comes up, how does it look like my life to be an overwhelm? And it's got nothing to do with the worksheet. Notice that your mind plays this game of overwhelming you, and it kind of ties in. The acknowledgement you gave Celinda kind of ties in with what Celinda was doing, because that's a part of overwhelm, and the mind trying to escape and trying to go somewhere else. And so just let yourself breathe and notice, oh, the reality in my mind right now is overwhelm. What's my next worksheet? What do I put in number 1C, the first blank in number 1C in my next worksheet? Overwhelm. And remember, if you can do this worksheet on a person, place, thing, or event, past, present, future, living or dead, including yourself. So if you do a worksheet on overwhelm or something else inanimate, then throughout the worksheet you talk to it, you treat it as though it were a person. So that would be a reality coming up in your mind, and it's a reality based in some form of hostility or fear. So apply forgiveness and alleviate yourself of it. Recognize, the whole culture, the brainwash, I mean, literally, at least 99.999995% of the people in our culture, by the age of 4, were very devout, religious members of the one world universal religion of blame. We all had a card in it, and getting out of that religion is tough. And we can blame anything. And resolution only comes when you do your work. It was interesting. Last night, Dee and I decided, well, we're going to get out for a little bit. We decided to go see a movie. I guess it was Sunday night. We decided to go see a film. Yeah, that was yesterday. And we looked and looked and looked, and there was one entitled, It Ends With Us. And it's kind of a tragic, sweet story about a woman who gets in a relationship with a man who's abusive, and she has a daughter, and she said, so it ends with us, daughter, we're going to leave. And so she picks up her daughter and leaves the relationship, like that's going to put an end to anything. The geographic cure will never end anything. The only thing that will end, the why is this happening to me again experience, is changing the content of your mind. That is the way that you create what happens in your life. Remember, the greatest atrocity done to us as human beings down through the ages, and sadly that we bought into, is that we are by nature creators, which is a great idea. Everybody loves the idea when the creation's going well. But being a card-carrying member in the one world universal religion of blame, notice I can blame a worksheet for what my mind is doing. I can blame you. I can blame myself. I can blame what's happening in the government. I can blame what the latest news is. I can blame what MAG is doing. I can blame what Dems and Republicans, and I can blame what's going on in the labor movement over in England. I can blame anything. And the pretense that when I blame that, I don't have to deal with what's inside of me is just such a fraud. So what we're looking to do is to get everybody to turn in their membership card in the One World Universal Religion of Blame, grow up, take responsibility. And Tini, I have a quick answer on that other question that's been sort of coming to me as we spoke about it this morning. And Celinda will be right with you. We were going to go ahead, Celinda, we had another question come in, or a question besides the comment from Colleen. And I just want to give a quick answer because it might be something somebody's sitting on the edge of challenges waiting for. What do I do with this? And the question was, I'm in a relationship and I've cheated on my spouse or my significant other. How do I apologize? Now, I'll perhaps go back and spend some more time with this after we work with Celinda, but I just want to throw out there, what I would suggest doing, if the relationship is one that's valuable to you, what I would suggest doing is going to our website, going to the catalog, and buying the video, Healing Through Relationships. You can get it in a CD, you can get it in a DVD, or you can get it in a streaming video. And the streaming video is $20, the DVD or the CD is $40. And if you don't have the money, contact Jeannie, drop an email to Jeannie, and we'll give you a streaming link. What I'd suggest doing is you invite your partner to sit down and watch that video, and that will set a stage for you taking responsibility for what you've done. And owning and inviting support. The other thing you might want to tap into is the communication, did you hear what I think I said workshop? Because that sets that moves into responsibility communication compared to projection communication, which tends to very powerfully invite others in to support you. And we'll be holding the space, and we might go back to that after we chat with Celinda. So just thought I'd throw that out there. So Miss Jeannie, is Celinda with us?
Yes, she is. She doesn't have a hand up, but I'm
Awesome.
going to click her microphone on. Celinda, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Well, welcome, young lady. See the impact you've had already just since Friday?
Pardon? Pardon?
Did you hear the impact you've had just since Friday?
I got in a little late. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
I just eat a frozen cherry, so it's my throat
Okay.
is saying, "What are you doing?" Anyway.
Well, Jeannie
Yeah.
had written a letter, or pardon me, read a letter that came from a woman who's been doing the work for some time now, and how helpful it was, especially the part about avoidance, how helpful it was to hear the process you went through, and it really served her. So she had sent a note thanking you for your courage and your willingness to be the example.
Yes, I kind of got in on the end of it, but thank you for refreshing what I thought I heard.
Cool.
And
So are we ready to rock and roll on the second half?
Yes.
Okay.
And I worked on it last night, or let me see, I worked on it Saturday night.
Right.
And finished it at that time to where I thought I was, but I've had more revelations since then. So,
Well, why don't you catch us up then?
okay. Well, shall we just yeah.
Maybe just in case there's somebody who wasn't on the show Friday, maybe you could just kind of do a background, what we covered Friday, and then what you've discovered, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, if I can read my own scribbles, I certainly will. We started out with me being my little child, Cindy, which is letting the cat out of the bag, because I dropped Cindy when I got married the first time. That was my rites of passage. Little Cindy, and the 1B was, we came to the conclusion was hopelessness, helplessness. This is where I think it fits the best. Depression. It's a depression based on the sense of hopelessness, learned helplessness, and powerlessness, and feeling squished. Is that what you remember? But that's
sounds right on track to me.
Yeah. Depression was the emotion we put in there, but those were the background promoters or instigators of the depression. Okay, so I, Cindy, who I'm love, am experiencing depression based on those other factors. And my denial, my denial displaces my experience of myself as my essence, love, and my mind tells me that my emotions are caused by my trigger, which is my mom, we decided. which was the reverse of what I'd had in there before or something. I don't remember. No, it wasn't. It's just I had myself in that line before, but we changed it to my mother and put me in 1A. My story is I am forced to live with my mother. I think that's where we ended up. I'm trying to, I erased and overwrote and everything, but that's as I remember. I am forced to live with my mother, and which means, of course, that I can't live with my father, which is whom I wanted to live with. And my thought...
So the goal you put in number 3?
Let me see.
Go ahead with the thought.
Number D, yeah. I am that's where the I am hopeless, helpless, and powerless and squished came in. That's my thought. That's the underlying thought for the depression. And then I want to punish. I had rage in there, but I changed that. I want to punish my mom by withdrawing.
Right.
And I want to punish myself by raging at her inwardly, of course, and myself, raging at myself for being powerless, for not living with my dad. It must be me, something's wrong with me. Beating myself up, basically.
No. And remember that
makes sense?
The truth about rage is that rage is an anesthetic, it's not an emotion. And when I say because of, I couldn't go live with my dad, or because of what mom did, or when I put a because behind my emotion, I'm now in denial. Unless the because is because that's in me. So I only rage, I only hate, I only fear, I only grieve because hate, rage, grief, and fear are in me. There is no external because ever.
Perspective. I would like to add another perspective to that, if I may, because that doesn't fit me. When I was reading Hans Seeley, he was saying that the most powerful addiction in the universe for humans is our addiction to our own adrenaline. And that certainly fits for rage. But for me, fear is also driven by adrenaline. And for me, I use my terror to cover my rage. So both of those can do it. I use terror to cover my rage, and I use rage to cover my terror. But the terror was my MO. That was my primary go-to. And that was based on everything we've ever done before. I'm just sharing this for you. I don't know if I'm right or anything, but that's what resonates for me. We shared in every single worksheet almost, it boils down to being safe. It boils down to being abandoned, punished, harmed, and death. That's basically.
So I'd note each of those words you just came out with and start doing worksheets on each of those. But I'm going to go back now to my statement about anger or rage. And the point of it was not so much which is which, whether it's fear or rage, but whatever the condition is that my mind is serving up, it is serving up because it is in me to be served up.
That's right.
When I say I'm enraged, when I say I'm enraged because mom did, because dad did, because I did, because all of those becauses are all a lie. They're all denial. They're all a way of dissociating from the real root of my rage. When I start to admit and acknowledge to myself that inside of me is this mental illness called rage, and it's mine. It doesn't have to do with what anybody did. Yes, if it's in there, anybody can come along and bring it up, but they can only bring it up if it's in there. If it's not there, that's not going to be what my mind injects here. So I get a whole world closer to the truth when I can acknowledge I'm doing this because it's in me and it's mine. And I'll move through it 1,000 times. Well, hold on. Let me finish my sentences, please. So when I own it, then I have the opportunity to let loose of it and free myself from it. When I put a because and I think of something out there, including myself as being out there, then I dissociate from what it is that I need to heal. And the idea here with the worksheet is to get back into direct relationship with what it is that I need to heal, which is my rage, my fear, my sadness, my grief, whatever it is.
That's what's fascinating, what you're saying, is because this morning, when I was listening to Dr. Tim and Susan, I realized that there's my mind, which is totally in agreement with you. There's my heart, which is trying to interface between the mind and the body, my heart, and it's not in agreement on some level of itself, because little Cindy, the child that is still in me with this unresolved conflict, is the one raging and beating up on herself because of what's out there. So it's kind of like a Middle East, Michael.
No, there's no because of what's out there, Cindy.
She thinks it's because of that past child that I am trying to take care of. That's what I'm saying. See, I was doing it on this little Cindy, and so, or self, myself. Oh, this is the first time I ever saw a capital S on that self. Sweet.
That's what we're looking to recover.
She's the one, this little Cindy, this little past memory bank of myself, is the one raging and beating true self. I never saw that before. That's amazing.
And so notice that there's another level of bringing the true self into the picture. And when I do that, that's when the real at-depth healing starts.
Wow, this puts a whole different light on the worksheet for me. Just this one capital S that I never noticed before.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yep. Breathing with you, clearing my throat with you.
Yeah, I actually took a breath, didn't I?
It's a good thing.
Number 2, I am willing to process all disease as I go through the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of healing. And I'm going to put confusion there because that is a big one. I mean, both you and Dr. Tim are hitting on that big time. I love it.
So what is it? So notice, let's just take that sentence you just used, and notice that you're not confused about that sentence. There's confusion in your mind. When I say, oh, I'm confused about this, by this, because of this, I'm in denial.
Right.
So what would truth look like? I read this sentence and I go, wow, that brings confusion up in me. Now I've owned my confusion. I haven't dissociated from it. And when I own it, it's mine to throw away. As long as I dissociate from it, I can play the game that it's somebody else.
Oh, I never thought of seeing that outside of me. This is a whole new thing too, Michael.
Mm-hmm. So
because
anytime...
I never thought of me as being outside of me.
Mm-hmm.
The little me.
Yeah, in Aramaic, you are your own neighbor. The true being is neighbor to the false self. And hence the condition that you keep Brahma active for the creator, for neighbor, and for self. That directive where we're told, he said, love God, neighbor, and self, or love God and neighbor as you love yourself, isn't what it says in Aramaic. It says, have Brahma for the creator, for neighbor, and by so doing you maintain that capital S self. You maintain your human life. You stay human rather than get lost in that picture in your mind of who somebody told you were.
Because it's all one. It's like that's something new for me too, because I have separated out the one from the many, from little me. Which means nature and everything.
Yeah, so joining you and reclaiming yourself. So tell me what that sentence brings up in you in the way of confusion. What does that confusion, what is your mind telling you that confusion's about?
Well, the confusion wasn't what I'm feeling right now. The confusion was that when I said confusion, I was referencing to yesterday when you told me, when you shared with me about confusion. Like I had heard it many times, confusion is a mental state of the mind when we're in dis-ease, when we're going through a healing crisis or anything like that. So today, it's like things are going click, 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 just everything you said today. Everything you said today. It reminds me of this quote by Sufi. I'd never heard it before, but it said that God speaks in the language of silence. All else is poor translation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what you're sharing with me.
That's actually very similar to the ancient Judaism, where that first law we just spoke about, I forget who there was a famous rabbi that said it, I think 2nd or 3rd century, and he quoted basically that Brahma for the creator, neighbor, and self. He said, the whole scriptures can be stated in that one statement, and all the rest is commentary. The whole rest of the scriptures is commentary on that one piece, that one statement. Brahma for the creator, for neighbor, and by so doing maintain self. Everything else is commentary.
What did Einstein say? I want to know the mind of God. Everything else is, I can't remember what, the details or something like that.
Yeah, everything else, the details, yeah.
This is awesome. So I'm willing to process.
That's the idea of the process.
And awesome is not fear. It is absolutely.
I got it.
Awesome.
I got the delight in your voice with it. I'm with you. It is delightful.
Love. Oops, where were we?
But when we read 2 again. When we read 2 again.
Okay. I am willing to process all disease as I go through the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of healing. My desire.
Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly. The confusion was yesterday. But it will happen again as I go through another layer. I just know that I own it. My desire, the constructive result, the exact goal that drives and uncovers my pain is that I want my mom to love me and love and respect me. Let me see where I've got it on another page here because I wrote it somewhere else. Oh, well, I've got this one. I want my mom to love and respect me. I think that's what it was, so I can be safe. Yeah.
So I can be safe, okay.
So I can be safe and explore who I am. That's what it was. To be safe to explore who I am.
Right.
Oh,
so
yeah. To grow up.
In other words, it's safe for you to show up. A safe space for the tree being to show up.
I'm going to write that down. For my true being to show up. Oh, I love that one. My true self to show up. And that's why we're here in this life anyway, so that our true selves can show up, right?
That would be the bottom line of it all. Incarnation, bring it into the world.
Love informed. I choose love, my essence, which stirs the love in everyone involved. I'd much rather be the rose than the butterfly and keep my little roots in the ground of my being. 5A.
So can you... slow down a little bit, slow down. We've got an action step here. So remember, we're actually doing this process. We're not just reading through it. So this is an action step.
I choose love.
What's the action it's suggesting you do?
I choose love, my essence.
Mm-hmm.
And that stirs the love in everyone, because if I choose love, my essence, I'm going to allow love to flow through me. I'm just a fountain.
So who are you going to include it flowing through to?
Mom, myself.
Yeah, so remember you're doing this worksheet around Mom. And so when you take this action step, whoever the subject is of the worksheet, you're bringing the true being in, and then you're extending that. And the action step is to extend it to whoever you're doing this worksheet on, as well, of course, receiving it yourself.
Because we're all one. We just look different.
I hear you say that often, but I'm not sure. I don't get that that's very meaningful in the context of I'm doing an action step where I'm going to be restored to my essence, and I'm going to extend that essence to Mom. To me, to say because we're all one, to me would be the mind throwing in an interference here.
Oh, okay. So I'll put that in my worksheets next. I'll make sure that 1C gets in there. How about that? I'll just note it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I notice I tend to define or designate sections when sometimes all one is appropriate and sometimes all of us is appropriate. Yeah.
Well, remember that from our codependence workshop, the number one pseudo solution of the non-being mind is if I could just figure this out.
Yep.
That's what the mind wants to do. The mind wants to be king. The mind wants to be God. The mind wants to be the lawmaker. The mind wants to have all the answers. And that's why you often hear me say, you got to be out of your mind. And the mechanism of this worksheet is to give you at least an instant out of your mind when you cancel that goal. Because whatever it is, the energetic dynamics beneath it, you're not in a billion years going to figure it out. And everybody's out there wrestling with life, trying to figure it out. Where there's a power in us. It's called Brukadikudsha, this feminine elemental force that undoes the effects of our errors and teaches us the truth, will lead us, will guide us through this, and we have this 9-bit mind, and we're trying to figure it out with this 9-bit mind and what has been estimated to be perhaps the actuality being 20 trillion bits. A 9-bit mind is never going to figure out a 20 trillion bit world. But there's a power in us that if we surrender to it, will take us through the whole thing.
Maybe that's where the silence comes in, Michael.
That's what happens the instant you cancel a goal. Carbon-based memory for an instant shuts up. It's a near-life experience. Just like the person who experiences clinical death and their carbon-based memory collapses, they get to taste their human beingness. It's not a near-death experience, it's a near-life experience. When you cancel a goal and carbon-based memory collapses, it's the same thing. It's in your life. You get at least an instant to taste, this is who I am. Now, the mind wants to jump right back in like, shh, I got a story for you. I got something to say. I've got something to say. You ultimately want to be out of your mind. You turn to it. It's meant to be your footstool. Restore it to being your footstool. When you want something from it, yep, it's a great servant. It's got information for you, stuff from the past that sometimes is very useful. But if it's running your life, it's not useful. So am I willing to recognize there's a power in me that's a whole lot greater than me, and that power has turned it over to me, has said, you can almost imagine the moment where the Creator says, I created amoebas and apples and oranges and mountains and elephants, all of it, and I've been in control of all of it the whole time. And now I've created you, my highest creation. I'm going to give you a gift. I'm going to give you something that nothing else in the creation has. And that is, I'm going to give you the ability to originate your own life, rather than just, as with every other creature, just live your life. You get to originate something different, something new. And I'll go inside. There's no way you know how to do any of it yourself. But I'm inside, and I'm the doer. I'll take care of it all. You just instruct me. Now, if you instruct me that you want, your power phrase, that kills me, cancel the thought, then I'll get a way to get you towards something that will kill you. I'll fulfill your desires. But there is only one actor in this energetic universe that knows how all these pieces fit together. And if we, harmonize with that actor, then everything goes according to our will. Because the Creator's will is, thy will be done. Ask me, and you will receive it. I'm turning the power over to you. And now, I'm in here. I'm available as a guide, but if you think out of your own head and your own carbon-based memory and your generational patterns, if you think you can figure it out and fix it and take care of it, well, good luck, but not likely to happen. But I'm always here. And that's where step 5B comes in. I invite this power, this super processor, this feminine elemental force that is literally an extension of the Creator's breath in me. And I'm willing to be guided by it. Rather than I have to fix it, I have to figure it out.
Oh, this is getting to the heart of the whole thing.
It is. It's the very heart of it.
Shall I go on with 5A?
Go for it.
This is a heavy-duty meal, Michael.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Glad to be sharing it with you.
Yeah.
Wait till dessert.
I don't want to eat. Yeah, I want. Yeah. Maybe it is the dessert, dear heart. And you too, Jeannie. I love you both. When upset, my perception, my mind's construct, is built out of corrupt data driven by my goal, number 3. By canceling that goal, the driver that selects the data that produces my reality, my errant perception collapses, and I get to drop into the parts of my mind hidden from me by my pretense that others are responsible. I'm going to underline that. For what I have created, including God. It's your fault. Again. If they are the one with the problem, why am I the one with the pain? So the action step, while holding perfect love, I love perfect right there, ripe, ready. While holding perfect love, conscious, active, and present, Rahma, I now choose to collapse my mind's lies by willingly canceling my goal mom or mom, to love and respect me so that I can be safe and explore who I am. But I like better what we put in here, so I can be safe for my true self to show up. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. For my true self to show up.
No, the true self relative to the noise of the world, the noise of emotion, thought. The true self is a subtle, subtle energy. And
okay, I'm writing that down. True self rather than the noise of the world.
And that subtle energy is overridden, is drowned out, might be a more correct term, by the generational patterns of rage and guilt and grief and fear and all the stuff that ultimately needs to be processed. And when I realized that out of all the data in my mind, this goal that I hold is what's causing my mind to use this trauma-based past data to build my perception. And the canceling of that goal, which is what we're about to get to, says that whole construct from my mind and gives me that near-life experience, gives me a space where, for at least an instant, the mind goes quiet. It shuts up. And I get to taste my essence.
Pass that whole thought by me one more time. I want to get it.
I didn't quite catch your question.
Just pass about the true self and versus the noise of the world, for it showing up, how it collapses. If you can just restate what you just said.
So when I cancel the goal, the noise of perception, remember the Course in Miracles talks about perception is a world made up by you to take the place of what the Creator gave you in creation. The Creator gave you safety, being, and love. And the non-being generational, multi-generational database called the body-mind unit brings in all the garbage. And the particular piece of garbage that's resonating at any moment in a situation in our lives is driven by the goal we hold for that situation. So when I cancel the goal, carbon-based memory dies for a second. Again, it's like a near-life experience. I don't suggest that people go running off and try to have a near-death experience. It's kind of risky. but this produces, my take is this produces exactly the same result as a near-death experience. The person who clinically dies, carbon-based memory shuts down. All the generational drama and trauma, all the crap of the world is gone. If that person happens to be resuscitated, you can read a million near-life experiences, they call them near-death experiences, of people who have clinically died, and they come back with stories about, oh my God, it's all this stuff I've been doing isn't what it's about. My life. There's a wonderful movie out there, if you haven't seen it, or even if you have seen it, actually. I'm just thinking maybe it's time for Gene and I to watch it again, too. Called Saved by the Light, a gentleman named Daniel Brinkley, who was a pretty brutal, vicious, hired government killer, was struck by lightning and died. And when he died, he tasted life. I mean, the film is really powerful. Saved by the Light, the book is powerful. And I really acknowledge Daniel, someone that I know. We've traveled in, speaking circles over the years and have connected a few times. And I acknowledge him for, in the movie, he was engaged in part of making the movie, and he actually let them show what a real SOB he was as a kid, just a brutal, mean, nasty kid. And when his carbon-based memories, I mean, they actually, and now I don't know whether this is for dramatic effect or whether this is actually a true part of the story, but in the movie, they've pronounced him dead. He's on a gurney in the hallway, covered with a sheet, ready to be taken to the morgue. And a friend walks by and sees the sheet moving and says, "Hey, this guy's not dead." Now, again, I don't know whether that was embellishment for the movie's sake or whether it's actually true, but he was clinically dead. And he brought back this whole experience where he was able to totally and completely let go of all of the SOB stuff that he'd done and the possessions that made him proud and, excited about how powerful he was and how great he was. And it shows the struggle that one goes through when they have a near-life experience. And it's the same as when one starts doing worksheets, the same struggle, same game, because he comes back and he knows who he is. And I mean, his proudest possession is I think it was a 54 Ford. If I remember correctly, it was a car in the movie, or maybe that wasn't it. But anyway, it's like his whole life is tied up in that car. And after he has the near-life experience, he says to his wife, we don't have much money. Get rid of that thing. I don't need it. And then when carbon-based memory comes back online, he actually threatens to kill the guy he sold the car to because the guy won't sell it back to him. He falls back into carbon-based memory over a period of time. And so his struggle with that, and it's the same struggle as people go through with the worksheet. Yeah, I want it. No, I don't. Yeah, no, yeah. But it's a very powerful film. Saved by the Light, Daniel Brinkley. So, breathing with you and canceling the goal for Mom to create this safe space that's filled with love.
So I cancel the goal to have Mom love and respect me so I can be safe and explore who I am, or to make room for my true being to show up. Yeah.
Right. And then I cancel my need for there to be room for my true being to show up, because that's another goal of the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And I cancel my need to be safe, to explore who I am, and so my true being can show up. I cancel that totally.
I just, as you spoke those words, personally got a major shift of energy in my chest. That's why I'm breathing.
That's interesting you say that, because when I woke up this morning, it was my chest and my solar plexus, my personal power base. Those are the areas where I have most of my issues. My love center and my personal power center.
So I join you in canceling the need
I cancel
to have a safe space for your true being to show up.
So I may have a safe space for my true being to show up. And so I don't have to do it all by myself anymore.
Right. So then 5B is where you invite the helper in.
I invite Rucha, Dukucha, to incline me towards healing. That's to give me the will towards healing. No, not to incline my will towards healing.
Just to create the inclination in me to get my mind moving in that direction.
Yeah, my cooperation.
The mind, what was called in the scriptures the mind of man, carbon-based memory, it calls willpower, and like, I'm going to make this, I'm going to force this to happen. And what I'm asking for here with this step of Rucha is to create a different inclination within my carbon-based memory which to blame and find somebody else at fault. So I'm asking Ruka to create an inclination in that part of me toward healing, toward all of these things. So several things to ask support for.
Yeah, so my willpower is in direct opposition to my willingness.
For most people, yes. Until it's retrained.
So it's not either or. Nothing is either or, Michael.
No. So number one, to incline me toward healing.
I have to find where I am.
5B.
Okay. To incline me towards healing. To heal my denial. Did I miss something? To incline me towards healing, restore me to my newborn essence love, heal my denial and capacity to generate my emotion of depression. And to help me open a direct conscious relationship with and gently remove the denied, dissociated, and projected parts of my mind. And I love the word dissolve, so I'm going to add that to remove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that works. Dissolution, that's a very good word there.
Mm-hmm. I cancel my need to be right.
And breathe.
Yes. I cancel. I'm going to put breathe after that spot, and that would be a good place to put breathe, Michael.
Well, you'll notice that there isn't. You'll notice there isn't room, or it would be there.
I cancel my need to be right and make up another story out of my hidden corrupt data to hallucinate proof that my fear and hostility-based story. I'm going to include both of those because one is covering the other.
They're brothers.
They're brothers and sisters. My reality is true. There's the breathe and soften. But that's another section. I'm going to add breathe after mine, too.
Go for it.
That. 6A, I now feel, what I now feel...
You might want to just give yourself a minute.
Okay.
You notice that the action step here is dual. It's not just to breathe.
No, to soften. That's interesting.
So literally... So as you breathe in this step, you want to pay attention to your physiology and allow it to soften. Just cut everything open.
Oh, yeah, because I'm usually in a chronic state of tension. No wonder I don't breathe.
Yeah, I kind of felt like you were trying to get into it. You were kind of in a hurry to get it to the next step.
Because
so this is a place to stop and be mindful.
Right. If I didn't breathe, I wouldn't be noticed.
So how about a mind shifter around that one? It's safe and healing. And I enjoy it when people notice and pay attention to me. What's that thought do to your breath? Are you with us?
She's still on the switchboard and her microphone's on here. She may have accidentally muted herself on her end.
Are you muted, Celinda? Have we lost you? Well, maybe, Celinda, maybe if you can hear me, I can't hear you. So maybe hang up and dial back in again. We'll wait for you. See if she hangs up, Jeannie.
She's off the switchboard, so maybe she'll call right back in.
Okay. Hold. Breathing with you, Cindy.
Good. I got disconnected.
Okay, you're back. Cool.
Okay, good. Yeah. This clarity is like it all started with me. It all ends with me. It's all choices or decisions decisions I made out of fear, out of hostility, out of a sense of hopelessness and helplessness, like throwing myself under the bus or throwing someone else under the bus. I was the one that was causative to all of that.
And notice it is a decision, and now you want to start to replace those decisions with choices. Two totally different things.
Right. Right.
So now you bring in your power to originate something new. So number 6A, how you feel? How are you physiologically, mentally, emotionally?
I feel both exhilaration and trepidation, and part of it is because I'm still blaming myself. I'm still throwing.
So that'll be worksheets on forgiving your propensity to play out the power person dynamic of blaming yourself. Okay. That's just a repeat of a power person dynamic. That would be a good place to take the extended power person worksheet and do one there on that.
Extended power person, like
the one from the intensive. The long form one, the 14-page one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And now, if you look back, so recognizing what you're feeling, if you look back and you at number 1, what does that situation look like to you now, just overall?
That I could have. I had several different decisions I could have made. I could have taken the risk to say something. I could have been possibly, but put more focus on the 2 years or so that I did get to spend with my father's side of the family. When my mother would send me away so she could bring some order into her life, and then she'd go back and pick me up. So. Okay.
And
it doesn't matter. I could have. It's not that I should have or I would have. It's just I could have.
Yep.
So I can do that now.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything can change. So then draw your emotions. What would a line drawing of your emotions look like now?
Being snuggled in the warm comforter.
Cool. Sounds like safety coming in.
Mama Ruha.
Sounds like shifting into safety. Notice it's been there all along. Yeah. Notice the safety's been there all along. For years and years and years and years.
Wow. So my new goal for Mom is reframing. And I have asked to be shown how to do a worksheet with her and myself as 1C. Okay. That's my final.
Okay. So let's just, if you would, go ahead and read through 7A, B.
Okay, principle of the universe is that by giving, I first get the original. I am grateful for this opportunity to heal. I choose truth in perfect love. And Mom, and I, Cindy, based on number 3 from love, I structure a goal towards you and offer to you a worksheet that I just mentioned. As soon as I get enough clear messages to begin to make one, to breathe.
So that'll be your gift to Mom, that you'll do some forgiveness work in her stead. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Breathe.
And maybe, you might extend that out a little bit, because if she couldn't create a safe space for you, it was probably because she had never had one created for her.
Right.
So now that you've got this space that you feel snuggled in and safe in, you might want to extend that to her too.
And to my grandmother and to my daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I breathe, I am love, I cleanse and bathe in oxygen.
Yeah.
And soften me.
Softening.
And relaxation, whatever that is. Resting.
Yeah.
And thank you. You've gone over time. Bless you.
That's okay. We're good. Holding a space for you, young lady. Nice gift to everybody doing this worksheet. Thank you. That'll be one of the feature worksheets in our worksheet section.
And thank Blog Talk for taking a nap.
Cool. All right. Well, you have a blessed one, everybody. Create the best year yet of your eternal life. It is an awesome gift to give the world. Blessings.